Probably should have some water here. Oh, well, we'll get going. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Diamond Frequency Pop-Up Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Fisher. It's an honor to have you here, and I'm so excited to dive in. You are a soul-powered business babe. And whether you are emerging and just getting on the scene, or you've been doing this for a couple of years, this pop-up podcast is aiming to serve you specifically through the lens of the diamond frequency. What on earth is the diamond frequency? I'm going to be sharing what it is, my personal vision of what the diamond frequency is specifically. And we're going to talk today about how to really pull in authenticity, devotion, and discernment. These being the characteristics of someone who is in her diamond frequency. All in all, today's episode and the subsequent 5 total episodes of the Diamond Frequency Pop-Up Podcast are going to help you understand why it's so essential that you step into, reclaim, elevate, celebrate, and ritualize who you really are, because we don't need another copy of a copy of a copy. The world doesn't need another, watered down idea of what we think business is. We really need innovators and leaders, and we need people speaking from their true genius. That is what's going to repel people who are not meant to work with you and magnetize the people that are meant to work with you, so that you are instantly making money in your soul power business, expanding your impact in the world, and at the same time showing up more and more and more in your authentic self, which feels so damn good. Okay, that's the world we're heading into if you stick around. Let's get into it. What on earth is the diamond frequency? And toward the end of this pop-up podcast, I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about the Diamond Frequency University, DFU. Diamond Frequency Business University is all about and encompasses not only what we're going to go through in these 5 days together, but also the world of manifesting. And it's for the soul power business babe, the soul source business owner who wants to recalibrate to their own authentic truth, genius, and way of expressing in the world. So more to come on that, and an exclusive invitation for you. The whole reason I wanted to do this podcast was because I wanted to bring clarity into what the diamond frequency is. I had been through, over the past 2 decades, quite a tumultuous journey with finding who I really am, and finding my authentic voice and the way I want to express myself and show up in this world. I really didn't know how safe that actually was, and how much of a stellar positive business move that actually is, because it never felt safe, because I didn't believe that I was the commodity. I didn't believe that who I really was every single day while no one was looking was truly what people wanted. I didn't believe that I could sell or be successful from this place of what I call true performance. So you probably have heard of high performance, but I teach true performance, and more to come on that. Every time that I said I had to become someone else, every time that I wanted to be like my mentor, or wanted to be like someone that had gone before me and was tremendously successful, all doing great things, but every time I wanted to be like them, and took what they were doing really well and then pushed it through me, my being, my essence, it only ever worked for a little bit. I generated leads, I generated traffic, I generated revenue for a time being. But I never really was able to scale, meaning when I went to bring it back the second time, people didn't want to sign up. Or when I brought it back the second time, I was almost like looking at my work like, who the hell made this? I wasn't even recognizing my own self and my own work. And a lot of this came to bubble and boil when I was a yoga teacher specifically. So this was like 2010 or so. And I already been teaching for several years in the yoga in the Syracuse area. But I ended up stepping through the doors of a holistic center. I taught a demo class to the owners, 2 owners, and the head yoga teacher. I got a phone call the next day, and the head teacher I thought was going to be like, "Congratulations, you got the job." But she was like, I want to invite you back in so that I can tell you a little bit about what's the next step. And I was like, okay, this is an interesting, really, oh my God. Well, there goes my plant. Hold on. And we're back with hopefully no more foliage falling on us. This is live, baby. We're not editing too much out because we just got to keep on rolling. She called me back in. I met up and we had a meeting inside of the yoga studio space. When I walked in, it was beautiful. There was 2 floor cushions set up, glasses filled with water, and then a lovely little candle lit between the 2 cushions. And she invited me to sit on one. She sat on the one across from me. And with a really serious face and an intense stare, told me that I taught a beautiful class. However, what she really wanted to speak to me about that day was my voice. And you can imagine my shock. I was kind of taken aback, like, okay, here I am thinking I'm going to get the job offer. And she wants to speak to me about my voice. What about my voice, lady? And she said, before and after you taught, you were in your voice right now, the voice that I'm hearing, Kim. I said, okay. Well, then I asked, well, what was my voice like when I taught? And she said, your teacher. I was shocked because I didn't realize that I was doing that. I didn't realize that I was sounding like someone, like as I was like slipping her character, her personality, my teacher, in and on me like I was stepping into a sleeping bag. I knew exactly what she meant. She was 100% correct. But I never thought up until that moment that that was a disadvantage. I actually thought it was an advantage because why not? I was being like someone else who was already really successful, someone else who already portrayed and was demonstrating authority and leadership. To me, not only was it very safe to be her, it was also respecting the lineage, so to speak. I never quite grasped up until that moment that someone wanted to hear my voice, that someone really wanted to be taught by me, by Kim. That was a big wake-up call for me because I realized that it was actually a desired state to be my most authentic self. I didn't end up getting that yoga teaching position. I was sent away with a lot to think about that day. And that is part of the reason that I wanted to create a space that's called the diamond frequency. The diamond frequency is truly about authenticity. It's about knowing why your most authentic self is so powerful and needed in this world. And not just knowing it up here on the conceptual level, but actually letting it drop into the body and using various practices, energetic, mindset, breathwork, body practices to summon, to evoke, and to reclaim that essence. Because it's one thing to know, okay, yeah, I need to be authentic. And it's an entirely different thing to walk the walk. That was something that was channeled through me completely. I'll never forget the day. This was probably November or December of last year. So 2022, I was in my kitchen and I was tired, sick and tired of this consistent need to be someone else. And I was just like fed up. I was like, well, who the hell am I when I'm not trying to be her or her or her or her? And this is like 2 decades later from that experience I was telling you about, being on the meditation cushions and being told no and fix your voice, the whole thing. This was many years later. I'm still grappling with this, this chokehold of like, if you can't be yourself, be someone else. I mean, who am I when I'm in this world? And that's why diamond frequency is such a potent topic and idea. And if you join the Diamond Frequency Business University, DFU, it's the solution to how do we show up authentically? Yes, channeling source, channeling God, channeling the divine, connecting and reading and understanding and visioneering what is needed in your tribe, in your community, from others, but then also taking action in the world. You do know deep down that there is a calling to step forward into this world and get your hands muddy a little bit and express who you really are in this lifetime, because you know that that is the true path of happiness. And you know that that's what's going to repel the people who are not meant to work with you and who you're really going to end up attracting in your dream clients. The only path there, the only doorway there is with authenticity. Here I was in my kitchen, just racking my brain on how the hell am I going to become more authentic? If I stripped everyone away that I ever knew, what am I left with? And as clear as day, the image of a diamond came to me. So here's the origin story, right? The diamond came to me. At first, I went, diamond. Ooh, yeah, of course. Symbol of luxury, symbol of desire, symbol of love. And my answer to my question of how am I going to become more authentic? The answer was create this ecosystem called Diamond Soul. And this is how you're going to teach yourself by recalling all of the information you know on how to be authentic and channel it into a course. However, there was something inside of me that lit up when Diamond Soul came through. And this is the important piece that brings us back to the whole authenticity. This is so important. This is the kernel that sparked it all. Because when Diamond Soul came through, I thought to myself, love it, amazing. And I was about to run with it. Something hit me about the word soul. I said, I go, you know what? That sounds and feels more importantly, it felt the energy of it felt too much like one of the coaches that I was just training with. I said, I wonder. I mean, I haven't seen or heard her advertise this, but you know what I did? I sat down at my computer and I went through her Instagram. I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled with my mouse because I was on my desktop and I was looking and looking and I was like, I know it, I can feel it. And sure enough, probably a year and a half down the scroll feed, I saw Diamond Soul. But I did something really important there in that moment. I did something I've never done before, which was to first and foremost check the information that's coming in. Does this really feel like mine? Or does this feel like or seem like someone else's voice, someone else's taste, if you will, or flavor? Then the second move was the power move. I said, okay. I said, Kim, you can do better. You can find your own vibe and your own flavor here. Keep working at it. Former Kim would have been just like, okay, let's go. I want to get this out right away. But I think this is the difference between where we're going to see beginner entrepreneurs and women who are in their mastery emerging as creative geniuses as entrepreneurs. Is the difference is going to be, are you willing to put a couple more days work into contemplating this? Are you willing to look again and then take a break and look again and take a break and look again and refine and refine and refine? The people who are going to be able to refine their work a couple times through are the ones who are going to have legacy. They're the ones who are going to stick around. They're the ones who are going to have legs underneath them and be able to run the marathon because they are getting inspiration from the world around them. That's not what we're talking about here. Everyone can get inspired and everyone should inspire each other. We do directly and indirectly. But then the question here is, am I willing to let that inspiration seep into my bones and stay there a little bit so that I can work it and chew it away and discard what's not needed and let the next evolution of that concept come through, which is so me all the way. That is the essence of the work of the diamond frequency. It's getting really clear on who you are, putting your own fingerprint and your own handprint and your own voice and your own creativity into the things that you're bringing into this world. You're passing it through a couple more times. You're checking it against. You're doing the due diligence. You're doing the research to make sure that this is not intentionally or unintentionally regurgitated information, but that you're pushing yourself a couple more hours, a couple more days to truly produce something one of a kind. After doing that myself, I started to get visualizations of a woman finding her way into a cave. And in this cave, I know this sounds crazy, but this is how the mind works and archetypes and shows us the next step. In this cave was a transistor radio, like an old radio, and with dials. And I saw her sitting down and it became me, but it was other women. And I went back and forth morphing in between this like avatar of this woman in this moment. And she was really attuning herself to the frequency that was already coming out of the radio. And there was a moment where she realized that this wasn't the channel she wanted to hear any longer. She had enough with this frequency. And so she went to change the dial and there was nothing but static and it was really uncomfortable for a little bit. And she was like, oh my God, worried. Like, should I go back to the channel? What if I can't get a new channel? Like, what if I've risked it all by moving away from this really clear channel that I've been hearing my whole life? But she kept turning the dial, and finally, she locked on something new. She locked on and heard and felt in that moment an entirely new frequency she's never heard before. It didn't sound like anyone else's. It didn't feel like anything she's felt before. She knew she had attuned herself in that moment to an entirely different channeled source of information. That is what we're doing when we are working towards trying to be innovative and trying to stand out as someone who wants to have longevity and wants to be recognized for one thing. It's human design. You want to be thought of for that. If it's manifesting, you want people to think of you for manifesting. If it's health and wellness coaching, you want to be thought of, you want to be the first person that pops up in someone's mind when they think about a topic. That's how you gain followers and trust and ultimately money, and money fuels the mission. Without money, no mission. You're dead in the water. You got to go back to work for someone else, 9 to 5. No, thank you. So we need to be able to be crystal clear. We need to be able to attune to our own unique frequency. So I took the word frequency, mashed it up with diamond. Diamond frequency was born. And then from there, I knew it was the perfect blend of words because I started to see reels and content and ideas. And I bought this diamond, fake diamond, of course, from Amazon, and I got a bag of other small diamonds and started just playing. And if you were around and on my IG page earlier this year, you scroll and see diamond frequency, you will see what I'm talking about. So that is the origin story of where diamond frequency comes from for a very creative sense. And so now let's talk about diamond as the actual essence, as the actual physical thing you can hold. How does it relate? How does a diamond inspire us when it comes to resiliency and authenticity and truly stepping out ahead of anything you've ever known? How do we keep that faith? How do we keep going? Well, we can look at the actual diamond itself. These are my notes from the first time around. It was so fun to find these again and refresh myself before coming on here with you. But I wrote down, oh yeah, and I don't know if you can see that. You can't probably. I'll try to zoom in, but diamond soul is crossed out. I had diamond goddess that crossed out, and finally frequency at the top. Diamond comes from the Greek word adamas, meaning unconquerable and indestructible. When I looked up diamond right there, I was like, oh, no wonder my mind and heart and soul were showing me this image of this diamond. Also, I was like, well, what is the diamond actually? The other piece about this is that diamonds are made of crystallized carbon. And I don't know if you know this about carbon, but carbon is the hardest mineral on the planet. Diamonds are made from coal in the natural world, and through years, millions of years of pressure on top of them, the diamond or the coal is transformed into something that's highly, highly valuable. So in some ways, we have to endure the pressure. We have to endure the pressure. And more to come in this pop-up podcast on what I refer to as the season of development. This is a very specific time of pressure in the entrepreneurial's life when we're starting to head toward our future desired state, when we're starting to manifest, we're starting to call her in, and we want to act like her now. It's not going to be easy. And this is where most people bail. But we have to remember the diamond. The diamond goes through a season of development, doesn't it? It goes through a season of pressure, which allows us then to become the diamond itself, a highly valuable, prized, one of a kind stone. Because it's made of carbon, it is also incredibly resilient. Think about you in your life. When are the times you've been the most resilient? When are the times you're displaying your carbon inside where you're like, holy moly, that was scary, but I went forward anyhow? Or maybe you're sitting there going, I could use some more carbon. I could use some more resiliency in my life. I got you. This is what this whole pop-up podcast is about. After a diamond is cut and polished, allowing light to come into it, and then it bounces around. Light bounces around every single side of the diamond, and it never leaves. The light gets trapped inside, and this is what makes diamonds appear to glow. And this is called the refractive index of a diamond. The more cuts the stone has, the higher the refractive index, the more light that gets trapped. And it's not that The diamond itself is shiny. It's the light that's been trapped inside that we're seeing. And don't you see how this is what we are? When you become more and more yourself, when you are disciplined in discovering who you are, when you are dedicated or devoted to the efforts you're taking to wake up every day and do your meditation practice early, to do your cold shower, to eat healthy, to get to the gym, to do your embodiment practices, to show up online, to do the emails, to make a reel yet again for the second time in the day, to reach out and DM people, to discover what ManyChat is or any of these AI services, to talk to your accountant, on and on and on, endless things an entrepreneur gets to do. Every time you do that, I think of it like a cut in our own diamond. It is as if we are in the jeweler shop getting a new mold and a new shape pressed upon us, so that when we're there, when we're finally worked enough, we can start to trap or create light inside of us that then extends out into the world. And everyone wants to look and ask, well, who is that shiny object over there? Oh my gosh, she's emitting the most incredible light. It's because you did the work. It's because you're disciplined. It's because you didn't want to just be stuck in the ground, knowing your value. You wanted to get out from underneath the pressure itself. You wanted to succeed to the end. And this is where we really dig into resiliency. The diamond frequency is about devoted love to the effort that it actually takes to become who you are. Because you guys, at the end of this, it is so sweet. It is so beautiful. You can lift your head high. And here's the thing that I've noticed, and the main win for me after coming out the other side of the diamond frequency and attuning to my own frequency, is I don't stop showing up. And I might even create a project like this that falls right in the middle of me launching a couple things. And my mind goes, this is absolutely crazy, girl. You won't have time for this. You're going to exhaust yourself. You're not going to launch it properly. Blah, 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 on and on and on. All of these crazy things that my mind does. But my soul, my diamond frequency, my energy, my power zone. We're going to talk about the 5 power codes next episode. Tomorrow's day 2 episode. So stick around for that, because power, true, authentic power, is really essential to understand. Because it is a momentum, it's a propulsion, it's a velocity that it builds you. And suddenly you're in that velocity zone and you're just like, how do I do it? I ask myself some days, how do I do all this? It's really because I'm not trying to be anyone else. And if I do feel like the taste of someone else's frequency, I'm quick to call it out. And then I let go of those external influences and I pull back into my own current, to my own frequency. That skill is a practice. And I want to teach you how to do that, catching yourself in the moment when you're trying to imitate. Why are you trying to imitate in the first place? Because we don't have the practice of actually reclaiming our energetic throne inside of us. We're not sitting back in our own power. This is why the 5 power codes are so essential to learn. And coming up tomorrow, I'm going to give you that so that you can understand what makes up power. Why is someone powerful? Why is someone so shining so brightly? Well, because they're powerful. And not because power was given to them, but because they created it themselves. They are their own generating source. It's created through a mindset. It's created through principles. It's created through embodiment practices. All of these give you power. And that power is what allows you to stay in the discipline. And that discipline is what's missing from most entrepreneurs' life. But knowing that that's a part of the game, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that there's a strategy in place that will help you get through that season of development, that time under tension, that pressure that we feel as we're starting to shed off the expectations of other people. We're starting to shed off that good girl energy. We're starting to shed off the maiden energy. Get rid of the people pleasing. And we start to tiptoe and then jog and then run and then full sprint. towards who we really are because we're hearing the signal louder and louder and louder. It's a skill that's developed. When you practice it, it gets easier and easier. If you're looking to become more authentic, if you want to resonate more inside of your business with who you really are and your values, you want to learn how to communicate them more effectively. You want to stop looking to external people for external inspiration, and you want to start to become your own source of inspiration. Then learning how to attune into and listen and feel your own diamond frequency is essential. What's at risk if we don't do this work? Well, you'll end up imitating, or you'll be a watered down version of someone else's diamond frequency. Because other people that are out there that are making it, that are really excelling, the reason they're excelling isn't because they're copying someone else. They're not on anyone else's frequency. They're on their own frequency. They are on their diamond frequency. It is hard. It is resilient. It is cut beautifully because they put the time in. Is she here to please everyone? No. That is what gives her her power. And the more that she can sink her teeth into that authentic energy, the greater and the faster she grows. What could you do with that level of knowingness and truth in your life? What if I told you that the diamond frequency and just what you get out of these 5 days, this podcast, is a solution? Understanding that there is a process, there is a strategy for you to reclaim your highest yes. You reclaim your most, not your high performance, but your true performance, so that you're resilient, so that you're cut in a very authentic way and shining your brilliance into the world and your genius. And so that when anyone comes up to question it, you don't falter and you don't shake. What kind of energy do you think that that would do for your business and for your life? All right, guys, there we go. Episode 1 wrapped up. Tomorrow, next episode 2, we're going to be looking at the 5 power codes. These are really juicy, really saucy, and guaranteed explained to you in a way you've never heard before. These are truly authentic and from my diamond frequency to yours. Share with me your biggest takeaway. Maybe there was something I said and there was a way that was like, wow, Kim, I've never heard of it like that before, or never thought of it like that before. Because the thing is, your comment is also going to be a breakthrough or validate for someone else who's watching this pop-up podcast. And you are going to comment, you think it's just for you, but it's actually going to be activation for someone else. And also, it's great feedback for me. I love reading what you guys get out of this. And if you think someone else could benefit from this, that maybe is an entrepreneur thinking of starting up a business, already has a side hustle or a passion project, or maybe is a full-time entrepreneur, do me a favor and share this with them. This is free information. If you think and you know in your heart that they would connect, then you're probably right. And I'd really appreciate the share too. All right, guys, I will be with you for the next day 2 episode. Yes, I can't wait.